Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of Prismata. We're going to jump in the queue here, and there are no games live, so what? We could go look at a replay? I favorited a game against Masterbot, actually, because it ended in a draw, which is not very common. What ended up happening here? I think I went for some kind of like Tesla plasma fire thing, trying to burst my opponent down despite the doomed walls and the plexos. Looking back on it, I'm not so sure of that. Maybe that's not what I did. No, it totally is. Opponent went for high econ, and I said, okay, well, let's build some attackers that are bursty. But I really don't actually see much justification for this. With Doomed Drone Plexo and Doomed Wall, and like Ossified Drone even, I don't know. I don't see how this was supposed to have worked. I thought I could just bully Masterbot, but he actually bought a ton of like good units, and like it's extremely close, and I ended up like at this point things look pretty bad for me, right? Opponent has 3 attack, they have 3 drones. I just lost, my plasma fires are dead, they're just soak now. And it's like, I'm not granular, so it's not even very good soak. And I'm just spending my last engineer now on clicking a Tesla to kill. Actually, this was a mistake? Yeah. Because I exploit by not clicking the NG. And then next turn I can maybe do full damage with it or hold it even longer, because my opponent has this Doom Ball dying. I guess I would be clicking the splitters then, which means I'm already over the absorb barrier, and so the Tesla coil click would do 3 damage. Yeah, that would have been an improvement. And then he starts getting these plexos, which are like the worst. I'm at exactly 4 damage, and all I can do is just say like, okay, you know, please stop. Actually, he's... I see. He's 1 drone short of being stable. What he would like to do is drone Plexo every turn, and that defends. But he can't. He only has 4 drones. So he's gradually degrading into like Plexo NG, Plexo nothing, Plexo nothing again, while I'm like slowly losing attackers. And finally it becomes clear this is definitely going to be a draw, right? I'm down to just 2 attack. If I had an extra gold, I would win, actually, because I could buy an engineer and click. Was there some chance that I could have, No, I guess because buying the engineer when I did to do 3 damage was pretty useful. It didn't do much for me on this turn. And so, as I said, I should have held it, but like next turn, I could pretend the engineer doesn't exist and attack with the Tesla next turn, and that would be getting just as much value. Because like I don't think I would win without that extra Tesla shot, would I? Well, maybe. If I'm threatening the Tesla shot but not actually making it, I don't know. My opponent still has to Plexo, and maybe it all does sort of work out the same, and I can... No, I think they would just have too much extra defense if I hadn't clicked a Plexo, a Tesla by now. Anyway, kind of a cool one. Very, very questionable approach by me. I don't remember if I thought this was actually going to win, or if I just wanted like some practice with these very aggressive blue-green pressure units. But looking at it now, it seems doomed to lose. And if it were a better player on the other side than Masterbot, I probably would have lost somehow. What's the deal here? Can you, like, can you build nothing snipeable by Apollo? Like, double blue into Deadeyes into Doomed Mechs seems goodish. And if you had some, like, extra red, you could consider, like, building Ferritin into Apollo, but if your opponent doesn't have red, there's nothing to snipe. And if you have red, there's stuff your opponent can snipe, so I don't know. I think Apollo is probably not that good here. Especially because you can go into Asteres as, like, your alternate source of attack to go with Doomed Mechs. Right, you won't have... Well, actually, you just won't have that much money, so maybe not. Because of all the Deadeyes, which I believe should see play. But say you have 15 income. It means over 2 turns you have 30 income. 18 on Doomed Mechs. It would cost 34, so you can't just float gold for a single turn to put in an Asteria at any point. It would have to be over 2 turns, like... Yeah, I don't know. It might be pretty hard to get Asteries. So what is the thing you get besides Doomed Mechs? It might just be... I'm a little surprised to see my opponent doing this. I don't think this is the right player to Deadeye line, but we'll see. It might just be a third blue for, like, splitters is the best way to spend your money, right? That's 15 bucks, which is what you have after all the Deadeyes have gone. And, like, it lets you get walls later as well. Yeah. This might be a fine Deadeye line, given that Asteri is in the set and you want to buy one eventually. And buying one eventually is an option, right? Sort of what my opponent threatens to do here by getting the conduit first. Do I have any good emotes for this? There we go. I guess that's enough emoting for now. Do I want a 4th Engie? There are 7 drones left, so it would do something. I would get a drone a turn sooner. But I think just a conduit... Well, I had just said that a third blue would be a good thing instead of green, right? But the green I can buy now and sort of have later without having to spend it right away necessarily. And I can, like, threaten to plop down a Gauss Cannon or something. I don't really want to do that, though. I think this is, like, fine. I don't know. It's not clear exactly what the point of it is, but it spends my money and is something that I don't hate having. It's a weird set because, like, once the Deadeyes have Doomed Mech, of course, says you should have a lot of drones, but there just aren't enough to buy. You can't do it. I don't know. What if I got a forge here for a splitter? And, like, said, okay, eventually I won't have enough money to support all of this stuff. But for a while, I can build, like, Doomed Mech Splitter, which applies more pressure. And, like, I'll turn this conduit into force fields. I guess this is alright. I could buy an Apollo with this, but I don't want to. I guess it depends on... Okay, yeah, opponent's getting that, so fine. I can get a wall. Here, opponent's conduit actually pays off pretty well, I think. I don't know. It's not really doing much. It's just killing one engineer per turn. But, you know, what else were they doing with the money? This fit quite nicely, actually. It meant they couldn't drone, right? Which would be pretty valuable, I think. I think it would be better to delay this another turn, buy some more drones. Of course, I could buy an Apollo to threaten this Asteri so that he can click it one fewer time, but I don't think that's that huge a deal, like, that I really want to invest in it. Opponent's gonna have a wall next turn just from this splitter, so I don't think I want to buy the Gauss cannon just yet. I just want to buy the last drone. And I think an engineer is... Hang on. What about floating for an Asteri? If I... Yeah. I'll have to float a blue next turn and a bunch of gold this turn. But I can get one Asteri together with my... Oh no, I'm losing 3 income. Balls. I'll have 23. I need 25. How about this? This is 27 that I'll have. Doom, that's 25. Okay. So opponent's threatening 5 attack? Oh, that's a doomed mech. I thought it was a splitter for some reason. Is there some reason I should click this? It only kills one engineer. It doesn't seem very good. It saves at least one engineer for me and kills one of theirs, so... Opponent feels a bit ahead to me, right? They're like, well, I don't know. Are they? Unclear, I guess. They feel like they have a bit of attacker tempo against me, but I guess I actually built I was the first one to get to 3 of these things. They were the first to get to 1 and the first to get to 2, but I leapfrogged this turn, in a way. And they don't yet have an absorber besides the doomed mech. Actually, they should hold the doomed mech, right? They're only killing 1 engineer, and if they held it, they could absorb like a lot more damage. Are you gonna try to get another Asteri? That is a thing and a half. Wow. I will not be clicking my Asteri next turn because opponent... Oh, sure I will. Opponent threatens to attack for only 5, but even so, the Asteri cannon gets value, right? Oh yeah, and now you also get to take back your barrier if you do this, right? No, because I'm attacking for at least 5, the barrier gets value, same as mine. Okay. But you still can't get Doomy Asteri, right? Like, I'm not sure what the plan is. Trying to... Oof. Isn't this worse? I think you would much rather have the doomed mech. Interesting. I guess they're planning for a super long game where you're not going to want the doomed mech soak anytime soon. I don't think I believe in that universe, but we'll see. They're certainly attacking for 5, so here you go. Apollo? They have 2 splitters. Huh? This is my one chance if I want to do it. I don't think I do want to, but this is my chance. No. Well, yeah, I should just build more attack. If they do something like let off the pressure by building their own Apollo at some point... Oh, you can't. You don't even have enough blue. I was thinking then in that case I might consider building my own because there are good steel splitter targets. But I don't think that's a good idea. So the second Asteria is going to produce a lot of value, of course, but they had to give up on the doomed mech for it. Which... like I said, I'm not a super big fan of. And now I'm stable at 15 drones, producing Doomy Splitter every turn for a while, until we eventually run out of enough soak to continue that pattern. But that's the nice thing about Doomies, they are soak, right? So hopefully they can fuel themselves. Could this splitter be something else? Like some kind of float for Asteria? Asteria is like 25, which is just not realistic, so no, let's not. Wow, clicking all Doomies. Really? Okay, yeah, I thought so. We got him building walls. We got him building walls. First strike. Finally, they had to do something they didn't want to do. Oh, perfect timing. Look at this. The Doomies are self-supporting, guys. I can do one more turn of all this nonsense before I have to start force fielding. And next turn I'll be faced with a decision of like, do I click Asteri? The downside of it is that like if opponent gets an Apollo, they could get a huge advantage. The thing is they'd have to get an Apollo, which seems pretty hard, right? When I'm threatening 17 damage. Yeah, I don't think I need to worry about that. I guess this is their Doom Drone tempo turn in a way. Oh, I should have counted whether I'm actually absorbing for too much. It turns out I'm not. Opponent has to attack for at least 10, which is perfect for this. But that should have been something I checked before I barriered and held a Doom mech. Yes, sure. You get some free steel splitter holds. There is that. You should hold your doomed mech too, though, right? You're still not doing any damage. Oh, I see. They were considering. Yeah. If you hold back either the doomed mech or you could click a doomed mech and one splitter. That would do a little bit of damage. I don't know. It seems difficult to manage, though. shouldn't you? Why would you not click the Asteres? You're only absorbing 9. I'm clearly doing way more than that. Are you worried about an Apollo? Seems unrealistic, but I'm glad to see that you're worried about it. I really don't think I could buy an Apollo at this stage. Okay, so they're getting, quote, value here by holding back a splitter, but the splitter might as well attack, so this is not real value. Here, they're not losing any attack. Is that correct? Yes. So this does not quite defend. I have to get Doomy Wall. Or, Splitter Force Field is fine. Make use of that green, right? Okay, feel free to buy an Apollo if that's what you want to do, buddy. He doesn't even have 2 blue. I don't have to worry about that. And I don't think he has to worry about it either. He was mistaken. He or she, pardon me. Opponent was mistaken. I'm not sure about this third blue. How well has it panned out, right? Each of these splitters could have just been a Gauss cannon, and like I had enough tech for most of that. I guess I was 1 green short. Once again, I forgot to check whether opponent was attacking for little enough that I could afford to do more, you know. Okay, so I guess I can now Doomy Wall for a while. Do I need to? Yes, they are not guaranteed to lose any attack. And even building a force field will not allow me to get another attacker out there. I feel like I'm in a very strong position right now. I think that just continuing more or less like this. Do I have any good doomed? Alright, here's a doom too, buddy. Cool. So, what was interesting about this game? Well, here's an interesting point, right? This Asteri cannon really didn't do very much. I had the third blue. Ah, that's why the third blue was good. Because it neutralized my opponent's early Asteri cannon. Pretty well. They made a big investment in something that did very little for quite a while. If I didn't have the third blue, I would have been in a more awkward position. Difficult to keep building Deadeyes and Doomies while the Asteri is bearing down on me. Economically, I also got ahead, again, because of the Asteri cannon, yeah. So, I pointed out that this is not the standard Deadeye line, but that the presence of Asteri might make it reasonable to deviate here. There was a comment on one of my somewhat recent videos. It's about a week old by now, I guess, by the time you guys are watching this. I think in the Asteri Centurion game, where I had remarked that it's quite difficult to, like, ever get Asteris when you have, like, the tech for Centurion, right? Unless you have sinks for the red and the blue. Because you have to be spending your red and your blue on something. And Volcanic pointed out that something I should do more than I do is consider floating moderate to large sums of money in order to buy things that don't conveniently fit, right? I still kind of focus on the number of drones that I have as like my cap on spending for the turn. You know, how could you possibly buy 2 Tarsiers, 2 Splitters, and an Asteri on a turn? Even if you had 27 drones, that wouldn't be enough, right? But if you could float a big chunk of money from the previous turn, you know, or something like that. I mean, maybe for the case of like 2 tarsiers and 2 splitters and an Asteri, it's unrealistic to do that much floating. But you can spend less of your tech, spend less of your money for a turn to let you buy one of these big clunky green units, especially especially green, but it can happen for other colors too. A single burst when like you have some green you can't spend or whatever, and I should think about that more. I tried to do that in this game, and I think something like it came up in the last game. I've now already forgotten what the last game was, even though it was only like half an hour ago. I get focused on a single game, which is good, of course. Anyway, so Deadeyes, blah blah blah. We all got a bunch of Deadeyes. I picked up a conduit, not for any amazing reason, but it just like sort of fit. And I wanted a 3rd tech. I was thinking of like force fields and Gauss cannons. I had not yet decided about like whether I could get a 3rd blue or not. I did not anticipate at the time I built this that I was thinking about like what tech do I want. I don't really want 3 blue and a conduit. I want like CBB or BBB. But actually like this like float to get an Asteri eventually, and like I don't know. I ended up being able to use this reasonably well, but could this 3rd forge have just been a conduit and like build Gauss cannons instead of splitters? I guess it could have. But this gave me access to walls later on, which was pretty great, and having built splitters instead of Gauss cannons in the meantime is also good because they provide you more defensive stamina, right? If you get to a point where like you can't comfortably defend, you can start holding splitters, which you can't do for Gauss cannons. And so I think spending $1 extra on this like tech building compared to getting, say, a 2nd conduit was useful. And I think actually 4 tech was correct because I wanted to say, well, I could maybe have gotten an Asteri sooner if I'd gotten a 3rd conduit instead of this forge. My point was that like for many of these turns, I was spending all of my tech and like saving for Asteri. Here, float 9, right? That was the idea. We talked about that during the game, of course. So thanks to Volcanic for pointing that out. I think this was definitely an improvement in this game, spurred by the comments in that previous game. But like after this, I kind of was spending all of my tech -1, right? Like I was floating a green and never really gonna buy another Asteri. But having this extra tech, my point is you could consider like looking at how each of these turns are going and say, gosh, he's buying a splitter and floating green. What if he just had like 1 less tech building and was buying Gauss cannon? Wouldn't that be better? You wouldn't be wasting all this green. You could have bought, say, 2 engineers or something. But I think like, I don't know, like 2 engineers here or whatever is when you would have to do that here, I guess, to avoid getting a 4th tech building. And it's gonna be like 100 years before you see any returns from that. Getting a pile of green is not super valuable, but it's something you can cash in later in the game for tempo, and seems better than just buying 2 engineers a long time ago. Having a limitless supply of force fields is sort of what this got me. I'm perfectly happy to have done that. So we got this 3rd blue just in time. I didn't really pay that much attention to what my opponent was doing to see that they could threaten an Asteri. It wasn't really on my mind because I don't think it's that good to build here. You haven't finished the drones. I was just going to build a splitter to poke them. But they put down this Asteri and have made a wall quite good. As a result, it took them a bit longer to finish buying up the drones. I assume they did finish, right? Yeah, they must have. But I got, you know, this first doomed mech, which was nice. Could have clicked it to kill 1 NG, but I think that's clearly incorrect. As I said, holding it back saves at least 1 NG, and perhaps 2 if they would be clicking their doomed mech. Yeah, and here, I don't know. I think opponent tried a little bit too hard to get the second Asteri in. I don't know if it's really worth not continuing the doomed mech train. So this looks like the second possible mistake to me. Actually, wait. 2 splitters cost more money than a doomed mech. I guess their point was... Well, yeah, of course, 2 splitters costs more than a doomed mech. But if they were, if both cost exactly the same, you would prefer to have 2 splitters, assuming you already have a good absorber, right? Because assuming you're not absorbing on it because you already have some other absorber, say a second doomed mech, you can imagine treating 2 steel splitters as a unit that's a 2/6, right? You can just sack it whenever you want. It doesn't have a lifespan indicator telling you must sack it, which is even better, but you can sack it if you want. So 2 splitters is better than a doomed mech, ignoring costs. And opponent said, well, I'm getting an Asteri next turn, which means I'll have how much money to spend, you know, whatever, some amount. And if I buy a doomed mech, I'll have $6 left over, is that right? Yeah. And I guess I don't understand. My thinking was they said, oh, well, I'll have $6 left over. I was thinking they might discover they have $5 left over, say. And then it makes a lot of sense to me, although I still disagree, to say, well, let's just buy the better unit now to have less gold left over next turn. Sure. Seems okay. But here they actually could have gotten doomed mech and then Asteri splitter. And that seems better to me than either of these approaches. So I'm not sure what the point was of getting the 2 splitters to deny yourself a doomed mech and make you float all your blue. Maybe they really wanted an engineer as well? I don't think that's likely, but could be. Anyway, so I don't agree with the second Asteri. I think it's really important to build a bunch of soak. Damage is ramping up, and the doomed mech train is going to be really important. Asteris produce soak as well, I guess. There is that. Maybe it was okay. Wouldn't be my cup of tea, but I can't say for sure that it's wrong. There was someone in the Discord, I think it was the Discord, a few days ago saying they had never in their life managed to get to use doomed mech correctly. And I don't know, like, I could send them this game, I guess. I feel like there have been a lot of games where I use doomed mech correctly. It doesn't seem that complicated, but you have to buy it a lot earlier than you might think. Anyway, it was really nice to be on exactly 15 income for exactly Doomy Splitter, with a bunch of soak lying around from these Deadeyes to let me continue this for quite a long time. That was very, very comfortable. And then when things came down to it, like, I just had doomed mechs I could sack and the opponent didn't, and that was the end of things. The attack numbers were similar, I guess. Yeah. But I just had a bunch of free soak and also a supply of force fields that I could call on as needed. And walls. It was really quite great. So I'm happy with how this game played out. If I could offer some suggestions to my opponent, I think the Asteri was a tiny bit early, maybe just like 1 turn too early. It would be fine next turn. But, I mean, I guess this way it forced me to wall instead of splitter. I don't know how great that is, but okay, sure. And this turn, to get the second Asteri I don't like much either. I would just sort of do the natural thing and get more Doomies. But maybe they looked at that and saw that they were behind on... half a turn behind if they did that, so they wanted to do something different. I don't know. I think the Dune Mech train is just too good to pass it up. If you end up losing, that's life. I don't think Apollo should have seen any play here. Not, you know, I have a bunch of splitters. I'm sort of vulnerable to it, but it was too late. Apollo is very slow. It's a unit you buy very early and eventually see a lot of returns from. But if you already have some attackers, it's usually wrong. And it could have been an okay first attacker. Like, maybe here was my chance, right? I looked at that, I think. But it's not really, right? Like, no, it would be bad here. Because I want a Doomed Mech to defend with, and a splitter is fine. This, I guess, was the time I said, hey, maybe I could build this. But by this time, I already have so much attack that Apollo is not good. There's a lot of soak in this game, and you might imagine getting Apollo value, but since opponent only has 2 forges, you don't really expect them to build many more splitters. So Apollo's really not going to have much to shoot, even if you do buy it. They're going to be spending their blue on Doomed Mechs, right? So, yeah, I think there was a lot of reasons Apollo wasn't good here. If Doomed Mech weren't in the set, I guess it would be a very different set, so who could say, right? It'd be like, oh, well, what attackers are you supposed to build? It must be just like, you know, Tarsiers and maybe Asteries or something. But and in that case, is Apollo good? Maybe. No, probably not. I don't know. But the point is, everything would be different. There'd be less soak, so Apollo would be bad. You wouldn't be on so much econ, so, like, I don't know. Don't worry about what would happen if you made some changes to this set. In this actual set, as it presently is, Apollo is not good. And I'm a little surprised that the third blue turned out as well as it did when I was predicting. No, I predicted it. Right? I said, like, hey, a third blue would be good. And then it sort of timed out to be a bit more convenient to get a conduit, but I managed to make both of them work. And that was a bit of a surprise. And something that I'm a bit pleased to have done somewhat correctly. Since, as pointed out in previous videos, I've missed the chance to do things like get this single Asteri. So, I guess we're done. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.